friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here today for another installment in my Random Thoughts to Ponder. I think I'm on video number 5, and I have no idea how long this is going to go because I'm covering all kinds of various different topics. But these are all things for us to just think about, all of us, not just people out there, but me as well. As we're facing various different issues in our lives, or the things that we're doing, or how we deal with things, and so on and so forth, so that we're covering all kinds of stuff. Health related stuff, preparedness related stuff, how we interact with other people, and so on. So if you'd like to see the full playlist, I'll be linking to that in the description box down below. Now, before I get started, I just want to make sure that you understand that I'm going to be bringing up several different points. And some of it's going to be a little hard to hear no matter where you're at. And the other thing I want to say, I will be talking about my faith. However, I'll be trying to save most of that towards the end of the video. So those of you who don't like to hear about that, and you just kind of tolerate some of the little mentions I put here and there, I promise I'm going to try to keep all that towards the end so you can at least listen to the rest of the video. And then you can always back out at the end when I get to that part. But that is going to, for me as a Christian, that's going to sum up a lot of what we're doing here and where we're putting our trust. I really hope that all these points I'm going to cover are going to really help you to kind of think and maybe rethink what you're doing in regards to being prepared and to just ready ourselves for what's already here now and what's still to come. Now, I always try to keep things as positive as possible because there's just too much doom and gloom out there. But at the same time, we got to look at all the possibilities, even if they're kind of hard pills to swallow, to help us to better prepare ourselves for all these various things. So let me get started on, we're talking about the various things that we put our trust in, and what is it that you're putting your trust in. So the first thing, and I've talked about this in a couple different videos, is putting our trust in insurance. So this is an insurance that you purchase, a policy, whether it be a policy for your house or your automobiles or your health, and so on. And while these can be good things, and a lot of us, especially here in America, are required to have certain insurances, such as auto insurance. If we want to drive a vehicle, we are required to have auto insurance. And those who still have loans on their homes, they're required to have homeowners insurance. We have been out totally debt-free for a number of years now, and we just, I think about 2 years ago, finally just got rid of our homeowners insurance. And I know that's going to make people gasp, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to link you back to the video I did about insurance where I cover that and why we decided to get rid of it. No matter what you do, though, when it comes to insurance, it's a risk. It's a risk one way or another. Either you're going to be paying 30 years into something that when you do actually need it, it's not going to pay out for you, just like in our case with the homeowners insurance. So all of that money we spent for 30 years on our homeowners insurance was a complete scam and waste of money for us, because we still ended up having to pay for ourselves when our roof blew off in the middle of winter. And that's going to apply to any other kind of insurance. You could be paying into your health insurance, but when you really need something done, how much is it actually going to cover? And is it going to cover any of it at all? And now, I'm not saying that investing in some kind of insurance policy is a bad thing. You have to do what you believe is best for you, that makes you feel more secure, but you also need to be realistic. Now, we still have health insurance, even though I keep thinking about getting rid of it, because we do a lot of natural stuff to take care of us. All the natural care in the world is not going to cover us if we fall off a ladder and break a leg or need some kind of emergency care. That's just not going to cover it. We may do natural things to help us heal faster, but sometimes you still need emergency care. If you need stitches or a bone reset, that's just the way it is. But to put our full faith and trust in an insurance policy is not wise. We still have to have backup means, just like we had a savings account that thankfully we had enough to cover getting a brand new roof put on our house when the insurance we'd been paying in for 30 years did absolutely nothing for us. But then that's going to come to the next issue. Do we put our trust in our savings, whether it be the money we have in the bank or retirement or even cash that we might be hiding under our mattress? What if you're putting all your trust in that? Well, there's several things that can happen to that too. Your home could burn down, and if you've got your cash at home, it could all burn up, unless you, of course, you have it at least in a fireproof safe. But what if somebody comes in and breaks into your safe and steals all your cash? Or what if the bank has a bank holiday and you go to try to take your money out and you have no access to it? Anything that's in digital form can be wiped clean at any time, and that accounts for your retirement too. Again, I'm going to keep saying this. That doesn't mean having some cash at home, having some money invested in a retirement account or in a bank account or a CD are bad things per se, but you always got to assume that money could disappear at any time. So we cannot put all our faith in that either. And obviously, I think most of my followers would say this: we cannot put our trust in the government. They have not been there for us. So all of us here in America got paid some kind of stimulus check at some point. And a lot of us kind of knew that, okay, how are we going to end up having to pay back for this? No, obviously they weren't going to add it to our taxes the next year or require us to pay it back when things got better in that form of writing them a check. I knew they weren't going to do that, but I knew we were going to have to pay it back in some way. And what are we doing? What happens whenever you just print limitless amount of money? You keep devaluing the dollar, you're going to see inflation. And that is how we're paying it back. We're paying it back in high inflation that is far higher than what they're claiming. And so, do you trust your government? I mean, I don't. I've never trusted them. And so we can't trust them to be there for us. That's just, that one, I just can't even make excuses for why anyone should trust the government. And then here's one that's going to hit home for a lot of people. This is going to be a tough one, but I think it's something a lot of us are realizing, especially with the weird changes we're seeing in weather all over the place. And no, it's not global warming, because the places that are getting hotter are only certain places. Places like ours here in the Northwest are getting colder and colder and colder. And even our neighbor back behind us, who has he's been a lifelong gardener. He's got a college education in this stuff. He even said his blueberries, and I've seen his blueberries. He gets massive blueberries. He gets them in massive, massive clusters. Of course, he grows his in the ground rather than pots. He's even having a difficult time with his blueberries this year. And I have had a great number of people either email me, comment on my YouTube videos, or talk to me in person about how they've lost their various fruit bushes and trees, how they've just completely up and died, or they're absolutely not putting out any fruit at all this year. And all the other various garden issues. For some people, it's in regards to the high intense heat that's burning up their plants. And for people like us, it's been the intense cold that we've been getting at really, really, really late in the season. In fact, today was cold enough. Here at the time I'm shooting this, we're already past halfway through July, and we actually had to build a fire just to take the chill off the house today. And so that should say something. For us to build a fire in July at all is absolutely, it's crazy. I don't think we've ever had to do that other than campfires. And all that is to say we can't even put our trust in what we can grow, because each year is going to be different. Now, I will be doing a separate video talking about ways that we can try to counteract as we watch. Pay attention to what's happening in your garden right now and what's been happening for the past 3 years. Has it been getting hotter and hotter? Then start finding ways to counteract for next following years. If it's getting colder and colder, same thing. And so we're always thinking ahead. What can we do better next year if it's going to be even colder or the same as it was this year, so that we can still get some kind of yield out of our plants? So, and it also applies to your livestock. Now, Big Bear Homestead recently shared a story about their goats, and how 4 of their goats, just within, I think it was like 10 minutes, died. And it was something totally unexpected. It just happened just like that. And you never know what's going to strike or what's going to go wrong that could take all of your livestock. In fact, I had a subscriber a few months ago that shared how they had a fire that came through their farm and killed all of their livestock, all of their garden. And how do you prepare for that? No matter how much we're trying to put up these hedges against the inflation that we're seeing, anything can come and literally burn those hedges down. Anything. And so we always have to be thinking of other things besides just our livestock and our garden, besides just the money we have in our savings, besides just the investments that we have in property or whatever it may be. And certainly in any kind of digital currency, as we have clearly seen there. These are tough things. These are tough things to realize. But we're always telling people that stop saying it can't happen here when we talk about how we're preparing for these power outages and these, maybe some kind of natural disaster that happens, and people say it'll never happen here. And we tell them, you can't say that because it can happen here. Well, the same thing goes with the very preparedness that we're putting together to hedge against these very things. Anything can happen to those as well. That is why I'm covering this. And of course, talking about preparedness, we can't not cover the food, the water, any kind of power source that we've put in place to cover us in the case of a power outage, such as for us, we've got solar power. Well, here it is, middle of summer. Normally we run everything on solar power all through the summer. This time of year, we haven't been able to do that because it's been so cold and so dark. We also had one series of our batteries fail on us, and so now our storage is reduced. And so not only are we seeing a reduction in solar collection this year and last year as well, our storage is reduced. And what about generators? Well, if you're running anything off diesel or gas for generators, well, to power your whatever you need, look at the price of fuel. It just keeps getting higher and higher. And at some point, we got to say, well, what else are we going to have to do? Because we can't keep affording these high prices for fuel to run things. So again, this topic came up on actually Off Grid of Doug and Stacy's Facebook page, where somebody was talking about how everybody should be investing in electric cars. Well, and I understood their point, because we can't put our trust in diesel, in fuel, but we can't put our trust in electric cars as well. And good grief, how many people have that kind of money that they can just shell out to suddenly go buy one to reduce the cost of fuel? And while we're also forgetting about the high cost to the environment and the people, and the high cost of the batteries that go into those very cars, and just the process of mining the cobalt that's used in making those batteries. Does anybody ever bother to look into that? I mean, all this, even the batteries here that we use for our solar power. The funny thing is the batteries that went bad were the ones that we got later that were supposed to be the best batteries for solar power. The ones that we bought first are still going along great, and those are just simple old golf cart batteries. And as far as your food and water, your water supply, whether it be in the form of a well, a lake, a pond, rainwater, any of this can become highly contaminated that maybe you can't even clean it, no matter what you do, to get it to where it's at a usable point. I mean, I would think you still could, but then again, anything can happen. If you're in a place that's having a major dry spell, you could burn through 3,000 gallons of water pretty quickly, trying to keep up on your gardens, cleaning things, and obviously what you use to cook with and drink. And that could go really quick. And if that dry spell continues on past that, then what are you going to do? And then there's also the trust and faith we might put in our abilities. No matter what health you're in, no matter how healthy you are, we're still getting older, and with age, naturally our bodies are going to start breaking down. In fact, some people have said you start dying from the moment you're born, because everything that we're being exposed to, no matter how well we take care of ourselves, there's always something out there that's going to cause our health to degrade over time. And age is just a factor, and so we just have to consider that. We're not always going to be able to climb up and down ladders and till a garden and all the other physical things that we're doing right now. So our health and our abilities that go with that health is going to degrade. That is a given. That is a given. And so we have to obviously do the best we can to stay healthy and strong so that we can keep up on these things, but we also need to be thinking ahead at what am I going to do when I can no longer do this, that, and the other thing. Before I get to the last point in this topic, which is about my faith in the Lord, and some of you decide to drop out, I want to just remind you that even though these things are hard to hear, the purpose of me bringing all this up is keep doing what you're doing. It doesn't mean we give up and we just stop trying because anything can happen. No, we keep pushing ahead, but we also need to keep thinking outside the box. What is something else I can do in case this is destroyed or this does not come through for me? It's about, basically what it boils down to is not putting all of our eggs in one basket. And I think also trying to pull together a community of people that when something goes wrong, just like the way things were done, you know, before there was such things as fire departments, when somebody's house caught on fire, everybody in the town pitched in and put the fire out. Those kind of things. This is why we also need a community of like-minded people. Even if we're all spread out, we can still be there for each other in some form. So now let's come back to my faith in the Lord. The things I do are actually should be the extra on top of my faith. And so if all else fails, I still know that God is good. I still have faith in him that he's going to take care of me. But I also, in that faith, do not believe that he just wants us to just have blind faith and not do anything. You know, faith without works is dead. That means we need to keep striving to do the best we can and make the most out of the resources that he's given us, whether it be in the form of property or maybe a job that's earning a good income, or our good health, our natural born skills, or the skills that we've developed through time. We need to utilize these things. Consider the parable of the talents and the different servants that were given different talents. The one that put his talents to work for him and was able to earn an interest off it was the one that got more rewarded. The one that did nothing and buried his talent in the ground had what he had was also taken away from him. So these things go in tandem. Our faith in the Lord, and if you're a Christian, if you're a believer, obviously that has to come first. Because if you don't have that, then all this other stuff is going to be, it's too dark and depressing, and we can't focus on that. We have to focus on the Lord and his goodness. Even scripture tells us to think on the good things. And that is what we should be thinking about. We shouldn't be constantly watching the channels and the news and the things that are telling us all the scary stuff that's going to happen. There's nothing wrong with just kind of keeping up on that stuff to a certain degree so you can kind of better know where to turn your attentions. But if we're constantly steeping ourselves in that, that's not going to do us any good. It's just going to make us more depressed. It's going to actually make it harder for us to keep doing the things that we need to do to better stay prepared for what's coming. And so focusing on God's goodness and how he cares for his people, but also realizing that there may be very good reason why he allows any one of us to go through hardship. And to think that just being a Christian or just being an American or just being this and that means that we never have to face hardship is it's actually pretty foolish thinking. Just like I covered in that video a couple of months back about the rapture and how a lot of people put their faith in the rapture is going to save them so they never have to face any hard times. Thus they use this as an excuse to never prepare. And yet the Bible doesn't say we'll never face tribulation, but rather actually says we will face tribulations. That is simply a part of living in an imperfect world. But we also have that hope and knowledge that better things will come after all this is done. And that is where our focus needs to be. And that is where our faith needs to be, while we still continue to be wise and use the skills and resources that God has given us. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video and it did give you some real food for thought, thoughts to ponder, and that for those of you who are Christians, just keep praying that God will show you. If you're not sure what your next step should be in being ready, keep praying and keep trusting the Lord. Remember, he gives to us liberally when we ask for wisdom. Scripture tells us that. So just keep praying. Keep asking God for wisdom, and he will lead you in the right direction. It's something we have to do here every single day, every day, because every day it seems like there's a new question or a new thought that we have to face. It's like, hey, God, please give us wisdom in what we need to do here. Okay, well, please share your thoughts down below, and thanks so much for watching and being a part of this and interacting and also encouraging each other as we move down this road together. Take care and God bless.